So Doug, can you tell us a little how LiveO2 fits into this healthy community you're creating at VTS and Veritas?
This has been one of the latter pieces of the pie, so it's hard to measure the impact of it because it's such a exponential factor at this point. If we go back through the history of our wellness plan, we began first with a chiropractor on staff. Then we added the nutritionist and changed our on-the-job eating habits, removed all the sugar, began maintaining people's blood sugar, which had a huge impact in our workforce. Then we added a workout facility and a massage therapist. Then we brought in Veritas Medical and Dr. Edwards and began some of the IV treatments we're doing. Certainly fell into the pillars of nutrition, hydration, movement, and peace. And so our LiveO2 has been one of our most recent. For me personally, just with my medical background, it makes sense to me that God always intended for us to oxygenate our bodies through our lungs. So to me, it's the best form of oxygenation that we can get. So I'm confident that we are seeing our better detox, reduction in our inflammation and things like that. So we have made what we call EWAT our minimum daily regimen for exercise for our employees. We have a full CrossFit gym where they can go down and do that, but if they don't feel they're capable, or if they're coming off injuries, anything like that, we require that they do 15 minutes of exercise with the oxygen therapy or the LiveO2. Personally, what I'm experiencing is a renewed energy level. It seems like a better sleep pattern with a greater renewed energy. So many of our people have progressed in their health plan so far. I don't know that we're going to see the dramatic impacts that the normal population sees, because they're starting at a different standard. Because this thing was introduced so late in our regiment, it's just kind of a crown or maybe a diamond in the crown of the things that we're doing with our people. So it's kind of difficult to contribute any single thing to that, but I think an overall increase in energy and we can recognize the inflammation being reduced. Next year when we do our blood tests, we'll be able to tell you a lot more, I think.
So Doug, from a business perspective, how does doing something like LiveO2 as a minimum daily requirement with your employees affect quality or morale or healthcare costs or sick days or productivity?
The overall well-being of our employees, as we have testified, anything we can do to improve their well-being will have an impact in the shop. If we go back to the history of our nutritionists, when we initially came in and began to maintain the blood sugar of our employees, we immediately saw a reduction in our quality issues, in our rework issues, and in our accident rate. In fact, we went 6 months without any accidents. So our day begins by our employees coming in, clocking in, and going either to the CrossFit or to the EWAT. Now, one of the things I know personally, they have 45 minutes there for their workout plan. So they're going to do 15 minutes of EWAT, then they're going to have 30 minutes just downtime where they can shower or prepare for their day. But they'll also come to the kitchen and pick up some protein, for early morning protein addition to their, just to get them started for the day. My thought is we're going out there with a clearer mind, better vision, better agility, because their metabolic rate's been kicked up, they're highly oxygenated, and so I think we'll have less accidents, we'll have a higher productivity rate, and we'll have a much higher quality rate. And the truth is, if you take accidents, sick days, the loss to sickness or to injury, and the quality problems out of there, we've seen our productivity ability go up 300%. Just because everybody's at work, everybody's feeling well, they're producing a higher quality product at a better rate, just simply because of their well-being. Now, our motive wasn't to gain that. That's just been a byproduct. Our motive was to help our employees be healthier, happier, husbands and fathers. But as a byproduct, we've seen that 300% increase in productivity.
You talked about it a little bit, but as a business owner, as an engineer, how does LiveO2 work for you?
Well, LiveO2 has, for me personally, and in the business, I think my understanding of the oxygenation rate that I get from it, what it does in my reducing my inflammation and detoxing my body in a very rapid, 15 minutes a day, and if I understand correctly, I'm fully oxygenated at that point, and the rest of the day is spent removing toxins and removing inflammation from my body. So I'm in a constant state of repair to my body. I'm not one who does it twice a day, but there are some of our employees I understand that are doing it twice a day, especially if they feel lethargic or feel some type of sickness coming on. They're going directly in there. They have had a tremendous impact. Living in the panhandle of Texas when the flu season came through, our guys was getting upper respiratory infections and things like that, or they felt like they were. They'd go in there and they'd push into the LiveO2 several times a day just to push the toxins out of their body. We've never been motivated specifically by the gain in profits to do this. Our number one heart, and I tell people when we've had numerous businesses come and visit with us, I said, your motivation's got to be the people. It can't be the bottom line. The bottom line becomes the byproduct of it. But I am convinced, and we have been for a long time, as we made a transition from a model of sick care to wellness, that we would spend 3 times more in our wellness plan than we did in our sick care insurance plan. Now, one of the amazing things that's happened to us with this system we have with Dr. Edwards and Veritas Medical, we've changed from a traditional sick care plan to the government's minimum coverage plan, which has reduced our premiums. We've gone from $360 a month per employee down to $60 a month per employee, plus what we pay to Dr. Edwards and how we support him with his clinic. This is why, back to what we were saying earlier about every property owner having a chiropractor, a nutritionist, maybe a massage therapist, a workout facility, and a doctor on site. If we as the landowners or the property owners will house the clinic, it reduces the doctor's overhead so they can provide economical care to not only to our employees or the people in that building, but also to the public, because that's where the biggest cost in the overhead of a doctor's office typically is their rent and utilities. So if we can motivate other business owners to get involved this way, we can help lower the cost of wellness across our nation, across the general public, plus give them a better lifestyle at the same time, and in turn become a more productive nation, increasing the profitability of everyone.
What advice for individuals or family or employees do you have concerning exercise?
Well, we have long thought, in our relationship with Dr. Edwards, we've long thought about 4 pillars that we see in health that really impact the well-being of our individuals. Certainly nutrition is a major portion of that. You know, we all have said we are what we eat, and we know our diet had become very, very poor. So we put a lot of emphasis on nutrition and supplementation of ourselves and our employees in the areas that our food can't give us the nutrition that we need. Hydration, huge part of this. When we took all the Coke machines out of the plant and replaced it with water stations, and they're numerous throughout our production floor, that hydration, we could tell a huge difference in our individuals. Movement for us, or the exercise, is a huge part, because we have many guys who are doing hard manual labor, lifting, pulling, and tugging. Some of them standing in a very stationary position, some welders who get bent over and put in place. So the exercise or the movement portion of it became very important to us. Just doing functional body movement, doing the same thing in the gym that your body would do normally every day. And that's how we stumbled across the CrossFit as a method of exercise, because it was very similar to what our guys were doing on the floor. Now since then we've added the LiveO2 as a means of an easier way to work out, a quick way to work out. The CrossFit exercise plan was 20 minutes. Most exercise regimens were. So the LiveO2 just plugged in very well with us, because we can do that in 15 minutes, same time the other exercise group is going on. But the mobility of our workforce is really affected by that, and we've seen a great deal of activity increase between them. I think probably one of the best comments was one of the wives talked about her husband being able to, once we started the exercise program, being able to go home and get down and play with the kids, was something that he previously could not do. And just by getting a little bit of movement going, a little stretching, a little bit of movement going, it totally transformed his family life. So once again, it's how we send home a better husband, a better father. They're there ready to take care of the kids then.
As a business owner, you've certainly taken an additional responsibility that most never even think about and consider. In doing that, what has surprised you about how it's impacted your business or your culture that you're creating at VTS?
We use the word culture when we start talking about what we're doing here, and we really are trying to change the culture. That is a very challenging endeavor. In fact, I've been told it takes 3 generations to change a culture, and I'm about to get convinced. Most of the American workforce is very skeptical of management, and they really think we're always just trying to take advantage of them, and it's a huge part of our culture. One of the biggest surprises to us as we've done this process, even after having been involved in it for 15 years, when Dr. Edwards came on board, one of the first things he'd like to do was find a baseline of where all our employees were. So we did blood tests on everyone. One of our employees was overheard saying, the only reason they're doing this is they're looking for a reason to fire us. And the truth was, we're trying to improve their well-being. The education, the lack of understanding that we have in the general public, the culture of the solution for being sick is go to an emergency room, call a doc, pay whatever it costs, get the symptoms resolved, is probably the most surprising thing to us. I don't think we can do enough education, to get everybody to really understand, because we're going to change the culture of insurance, we're going to change the culture of how you relate to your doctor, we're going to change the culture to your doctor doesn't manage your wellness, you manage your wellness, your doctor just educates you and gives you the tools to be able to do it. So it's a huge shift in thinking, and we cannot do enough education. One of the things we've done, because that's such a big deal, one of the things we've done is we require our employees and their spouse to attend 2 sessions, an intake session and a practitioner session, so that the wife, we have predominantly a male population, so it's most of the spouses are wives, and we all know that the men are going to eat whatever she cooks, and they're going to take care of themselves in whatever manner she requires. So we get her in here to get the education from the practitioners, so she can go home and change the lives of her husband and her kids.
Any last words, any advice for other business owners that are out there that could help them along the way or help them shift into being more responsible?
I think one of the common factors for all businessmen has been the cost of insurance. A lot of talk about Obamacare and all these different things, but for my entire business career, I've watched health costs go up and up and up, and the cost of insurance go up and up and up. There is a better way. If we step away from the sick care system and begin to really steward wellness rather than just treating symptoms, we can change the cost and the bottom line for all of American businessmen. To think the idea that it costs too much to be well is just a myth. And we need to recognize that it costs much more to be sick than it ever did to be well. Whether you're talking about a personal budget or a business's budget, this idea of wellness is where all of us as businessmen, business owners, have got to go to with our employees.